So, welcome to the Boundary. We're today doing some preparation of simple dishes that you may have seen on our menus. We're just going to take the dark skin off and we're going to scale the white side. You'll see it on your fishmonger's counter. It's a real premium fish, so it might be for a fish this size 18 or even 20 pounds. So on the menu here at just over 30 is quite a bargain. This is from down on the Helford. The guys are gill netting, which means the fish just catches its gill in the net. They ice slush at sea, so it stays in really perfect condition. You can see like really nice glistening gills. It's still got fresh, bright red blood and a nice clear eye. So the technique is, so just to put my little finger under the gill cover here and then to push across diagonally under the skin. So it is a bit tight, but if I can get my finger all the way through there and poke it out the other side, then I can just ease it around to make a little bit of space before starting to pull the skin off the rest of the fish. So now I'll turn it around. What you will need here, which is really useful, is a J cloth, a good dry J cloth, a new one if possible, which will give you good purchase on the skin. So you can see already that there's this silvery layer underneath, and we want to keep that intact. As I start to pull back, I just lever the skin away from the flesh very gently. And when I say lever, so I'm not trying to use my muscle to tear it off in one, but to gently ease the skin off so it doesn't tear. And just by releasing down the sides of the fish, that will make it just a little bit easier. I'm just using my thumb, keep tension on the skin, and to release that down the sides. There we go. So you can see that's a pretty simple technique. So we take a clean J cloth, just fold it up a little bit, and if I put that on the other side of the skin, that'll give something to hold on to, and then very gently here, just easing the skin back. So I'm just rolling my hand so into my fist and then rolling it back, and then I adjust the J cloth just to make sure that I can evenly lever, holding the skin so it doesn't pull or tear. That'll come all the way off. We can turn the fish over and we see we've got these really rough scales. It feels like sandpaper. If you can buy a scaler, then even better. If not, you can use the back of a knife, but it will take a lot longer. It'll be a lot more trouble. You could alternatively skin the other side of the fish, but this has a nice sweet fatness about it which cooks really well. So best place to do this is in a sink, because obviously you don't want scales flying everywhere. Alternatively, you could get out a bin bag. We've got stainless steel here, so we can just clean down. So we're just rolling the scaler around just to make sure we get all the scales off. If you just pull in one direction, then you always end up missing some scales, and they're pretty tightly attached. Just to roll it around. These scales are not so big that they'd be really uncomfortable in your mouth. Just to make sure everything is off. I can then go over just with the back of the knife. This is just collecting up some of the loose ones. So now that we've got the Dover sole skinned on the other side, scaled on this side, I'm just going to trim it up. We're going to remove the head and the frills around the side. Now I don't want to cut these too short, because as they cook there are little bits of meat on there which crisp up and are actually very, very tasty. So good pair of kitchen scissors, and then just to cut around, and you'll see that I'm just leaving just a couple of millimeters just where the meat starts to widen out into the body of the fish, right up to the head, and on the other side the same principle. You can do this with a knife, but it's much, much easier with a pair of scissors. Now you don't have to take the head off. You could cook it at home with the head on, and there's a little bit of cheek meat in there which is very tasty, likewise on the other side. But for the restaurant we want to remove the head, so there's nothing left for the customer to do at the plate, as it were. So we're just going to cut through where the gill is, and then the meat goes right up to here, so I want to get as much of that on the plate as possible. So I'm just going round the back of the gills and then to cut forwards. So you'll see it's not cut straight off, but there's actually those extra morsels here which are really worthwhile. In fact, they're some of the best pieces up around the collar of the head. And then we can progress to the cooking stage. So we're going to make some lemon segments to go into the brown butter. The reason we put lemon in, because that flesh is so rich and so buttery, it needs something to cut through, so a little bit of acidity is good. Take the lemon, make a barrel, so cut off each end. We don't want to waste too much. And then what I'm doing is I'm cutting parallel to the top of one of those segments all the way around, following, so it's even all the way through. And then I just have to keep following the lines. So these lines here. So when it finishes, there will be a lemon shape still, not a square. I don't want to just cut down straight, but to follow these lines so we have as little wastage as possible. The first segment I'm just going to take out following the connective tissue on both sides. That's the first one. But then for segments after that, I'm just going to go in, flick that stone out there, that little pip. That one can go on the side. So go to there and then cut in and just twist the knife. I don't know if you can see that. Makes a much easier segment. So just go in. If we have a lot of pips like there, then I'll just cut above and just twist out. But if there's just one, I'll nick it out and then we get a full segment. That will probably be enough. And then each of these we can just slice up to nice even pieces so you get a little mouthful of lemon as you're going. And no pips, that's the most important thing. So that can go into the sauce. So now that we've got the ingredients all prepared, not forgetting the head. Really useful to just pop in a pan with a little bit of water and white wine, maybe a sprig of thyme and a shallot, and that will make a lovely fish stock, which we could use if we were shallow poaching the fish. But today we're going to cook the Dover sole Meuniere, so that's in the style of the miller's wife. We in the restaurant cook without flour, and then we make the classic Meuniere sauce, so brown butter, finished with capers, lemon and parsley. But for the home cook, I think it's probably easier and a little bit safer to dust with seasoned flour. That way you'll definitely not have any sticking in the pan. So we've got a steel pan, and you can see there's a little bit of a sheen about it. That's because it's well seasoned, so we allow the oil to burn on there, and that means that it'll stay non-stick. So what we're going to do is to just dust the fish in the flour like this, just to make sure it's nice and evenly covered, and then just pat it off. You keep that just here, so just enough to stop it sticking to the pan, but not so much that it's falling off in the pan and burning. I'm just going to take a little bit of butter. I say a little bit. Now I don't want the butter to burn, although we're making burnt butter later on. I want it now just to melt so we can get the fish in the pan and get nice even colour. The pan is hot because I don't want the fish to stick to it, so we're just melting it for the time being. We're using unsalted butter, which has a higher burning point than salted butter, so that means that we've got more confidence that it's not going to burn before the fish is ready. So just gently melting it. You can see it's still nice and golden. That's all good. As I said, the seasoned flour has got the salt in it, so you don't need to add any more flour. Now we've got two sides to the fish. See, the butter's just starting to burn, which means it's hot enough to cook. The side with the skin on and the side without the skin on. We want to serve the side without the skin, so that's the side I'm going to put in the pan first. So you can see it's not sticking, so it's just in the pan. We can move it around. That's fine. So we'll give that a couple of minutes just on that side. Nice high heat. You don't want for the fish to start to leach out its juice before it gets colour. Just got a pair of tongs. I can lift the fish up and have a look. Beautiful. You can see the butter is browning. And give this 1 minute, and then we're going to put it into the oven for about 5 or 6 minutes until it's cooked through. The ovens here are very hot, so at home you probably have to cook that for 8 to 10 minutes at 185, and that'll be sufficient. So into the oven. So the Dover sole's been in the oven for about 5 or 6 minutes. See what is going on underneath. Nicely cooked, and we're just going to see. Okay, so because I can put the knife in, palette knife in there, that means that the fish is cooked. The Dover sole, this is one of the qualities that makes it so prestigious, has this gelatinous nature, which means that it will really hold together. It's got lots of binding tissue. This is going to make the base of the sauce. So you can see that's not burnt, that's still nicely brown in colour, but we'll need a little bit more than that. So we're going to add to that. So you can see these toasty brown colours going on. So when the butter stops foaming, that means that it's hit that point where it's starting to caramelise the proteins. So it's all suddenly gone quiet. So that's the point at which we're going to take it out. We've got a bowl that we're going to put just capers and parsley into, and some lemon segments, the ones we prepared earlier. So in the pan, just a squeeze of lemon juice. Just let that settle just for a moment. So I don't want all the sediment that's going around in the bottom into the dish here. We're just going to give that a minute and then pour that gently in. When the butter's really brown, you don't want to eat too much of that. So that's got lots of flavour, but you don't want to eat a lot of that. It's not so easy to digest. So we've just cooked the dover sole, we've made the sauce, we've got capers, lemon segments, parsley in there. Just season it just a little bit. So look, it's got that lovely brown colour. If it's clear and golden, then it doesn't have enough flavour in it for the fish. So this is the dover sole. You can see it's just cooked, it's starting to come away from the bone, and I'm going to take it off the bone for you just to show you what to do. So going along the side, just need a fork and a spoon for this. You can see these are the bits that we didn't trim too aggressively earlier. So just with a fork and spoon, I'm just going to ease the fillet off the bone. And if it's cooked, this should come away really, really easily. You'll always find at the far end, you just need to scrape because it will still be attached. That's all detached all the way along the side. That density and that gelatinous quality of the fish that we were talking about earlier is what enables us to take the fillet off the bone. Oh wow, that looks beautiful. And just slide the fork along, but I should be able to lift it straight up without it breaking. Right, here we go. And the other fillet should be able to go on the other side. Perfect with a good glass of Chardonnay, good Chablis. Be absolutely beautiful. But it should just be only just coming off the bone. These fillets can go just on the outside of the plate. And then this is the really good bit. We should therefore just be able to pull off the bone, and that comes pretty much straight off, and it all sticks together. So these last bones that we've got along here, just ease them off with a spoon. So if you're using hot plates all the way through, you don't have to worry too much about the fish going cold. Just cut all of this off. If you find it easier to do this with a palette knife, you can. And again the other side. So I'm just going to take out, if there's a little bit of blood left around there, we can just nick that out. And just up here, we'll just scrape that out as we're taking off the bones. Very simple to do. Well, I'm hungry already looking at this. So all these bones along here come off a little bit more easily. We'll just flip them back, and just to pop them off on the edges there. Where the fish is most cooked, along the tail, and we have to scrape these bits back in so we don't lose too much. All of this can come off. If I just cut down between the two fillets. So I know that we don't have any bone here, so we're all good and clean. I've just tucked the fillets underneath. Just overlap this on the outside. You get a little bit of everything. So you can see the toasty brown as well as that clear, pure white on the inside. Just clean up the plate, make sure there's no staining. And just back to the sauce. This brown butter will just go straight along the middle of the fish, onto all the fillets. Just going to put a nice simple sprig of watercress. I don't think it needs any more than that. We've got beautiful Dover sole, very simple sauce made with the butter, capers and lemon and parsley, and a piece of watercress. Right, shall we eat it?